You know what I like about Bob?
What's that?
He's famously wrong about a lot of great games.
Ooh, which ones?
Why don't you tell us, Bob?
Top 5 games I'm wrong about.
Hey guys, I'm Tim.
I'm Bob.
I'm Mike.
And this is Board Game Rundown, and today we're putting Bob on the spot. And we want to know about the top 5 games he's wrong about. Bob's going to list 5 games that he does not like that are probably popular, and Mike and I are going to make fun of him for that, or counter-argue why he's wrong about some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. You guys ready?
Get us going with number 1.
I couldn't be more ready.
5. But
Oh,
yes.
yeah, that's sure. If you want to do it in your way,
Yeah.
that's fine.
I do. So, number 5 for me is going to be Massive Darkness, Tim. It sits right behind you on the shelf all the time. I played the first version. I didn't care for it. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Because you haven't played Massive Darkness 2. That is why you're wrong. Massive Darkness 2 is really good.
Okay.
I haven't played Massive Darkness 1.
Okay.
I remember there being a little bit of controversy around the first Kickstarter for Massive Darkness.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really pay a ton of attention to it. Then I had the opportunity to play and review part 2. And it's really fun and really good. So you're wrong because you haven't played part 2, which I don't know that you need to play part 1.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe part 1 is garbage. I don't know. But 2's good. You haven't played either, have you?
I did not.
Okay.
All right. I
There
guess
we
Mike's
go.
out. All right. So, piece of cake. So, then that's going to bring me to my number 4. I've been told that this is the best version of this game, although I own many, many, many versions of this game, and I think this is my least favorite. Clank in Space.
Oh.
I think it's the weakest version. I have played Underground Sea, I've played the Temple, I've played the base version, I've played the Legacy, I've played the one with the tiles, the newer one, Catacombs. Clank in Space, I feel like it's the worst one. And I have been told it's the best.
Is the best version.
I agree.
And that's
Well,
because you
Legacy
can't-
is super cool too.
I haven't played Legacy
I haven't
yet.
gotten into Legacy, and I'm
Yep.
sure it will be. But Catacombs is the best because you can't plan out your entire game ahead of time,
Yes.
and there's the element of surprise and randomness adds
Right.
more replayability.
Right.
But in Space is better than the original because the short-term strategy of just grabbing the first artifact and then darting out is far too easy and far too overpowered in the first version. In Space makes it much more risky to stay in there and grab stuff and play. It makes it less risky to stay around and play the long game. So if you go out first, there's not an advantage like there is in the first one.
Is it? Don't you keep pulling cubes out? Even though as soon as you
Not
get
as
out,
many.
Oh, okay. If it's not as many, maybe the risk is lower.
In Space is my least played one because it's not my favorite. I think it's fine, but I'd rather play.
Yeah,
I would
it's
rather
it's not
play.
bad.
I'd rather play. Well, Catacombs is number 1 for me. Again,
Yeah.
not having. I own Legacy. I haven't played it yet.
Yep.
But then the OG version with either of the expansion boards are great and super fun.
Yep.
And then Space would be the third one I'd grab. And I understand the modular board adds interesting stuff, but I'm not
Okay.
going to really fight you on that one.
All right. All right. That's fair.
But Mike had it.
Mike had an opinion.
Yeah.
All right. We had to listen to it, I guess. There's just so you know, there is that you can double tap the screen, just skip past when Mike's talking. Number 3. Number 3. I know it had its time, but people are obsessed with this game. I don't get it. Dominion.
There's 1,000 deck builders I'd rather play.
There's yeah. Okay.
You just mentioned one. Clank in Space.
Yeah, exactly. So
All
yeah,
versions.
some people are obsessed with this.
No, hey.
And I mean, I guess if that's your jam, it's your jam. But try new games.
I don't really have much. I will say that I will use a movie sort of comparison, right? As like a cinephile and somebody that loves movies. There are movies that you go back and you watch almost as homework because there's movies
lays the
that
groundwork.
It lays the groundwork. You like can learn so much. Now, is that movie as entertaining or as tightly directed or
Right.
edited, as to what you're used to or what you like? No. But you can see all the influences and all the stuff, all the foundational things that did. And Dominion 100% does that and is awesome for doing that. And I'm really grateful for it.
And I don't think it's a bad game, right? Because there are a lot of expansions that are fun and they add some neat things to it. And the whole fact that, you can have these cards, but you can only take, 2 actions. Let's do something else, take extra actions. But the whole if I want to win, those cards are now dead weight. And that I don't really care for.
Yeah, there's 30 other deck builders that are better.
But without Dominion, who would have invented deck building? Because Dominion did. So it is the base for which every other deck builder is based. So it very much has its place.
Okay.
Just not in my collection anymore.
Number 2. So my number 2, another game that sits behind Tim, and he likes to play that I just don't care for. Equinox, Tim. Why is that a good game? I
Go to
don't care.
hell. This
I don't
game's
like
awesome.
Equinox. Don't like
This
it.
game is awesome.
No.
So in Equinox, what you're trying to do is there's all these different fantasy species, and they're all becoming extinct. So you are betting secretly on which ones you are trying to keep going.
It's one thing, not a bad thing.
And what, betting? Come over here.
You're trying to predict which animal's going to survive the longest. And that whole foreshadowing element is something I just haven't seen a ton of games pull off.
And I really enjoy sort of that card play aspect of it too, as you are trying to also bait people into going and killing off one of these things where it's well, I wasn't actually trying to perpetuate that one's existence anyway. So there's some bluffing, there's some mind games, there's a little bit of press your luck, with how far do I push this, I don't know. I think the components are amazing. I love it. If I could find that giant playmat that Lonnie had, oh man, I'd buy that in a heartbeat. And I don't even love playmats that much, but I would get one for that because it was really cool to have it all laid out in that way.
The art is fantastic.
Yes.
It has the coolest bidding stones I've ever seen.
Yes.
And every creature has a very cool, unique effect from all the others.
Yes.
Equinox is very interesting and nothing like anything else I've played.
Bob, you're so wrong.
He's wrong.
You're so wrong.
All right, well, my number 1.
Here we go. Let's. All right, we got 5.
Belong the Clocktower.
Oh,
Mike.
Bob doesn't like social deduction,
No.
but it is the best social deduction game you'll ever play if you like that style of game. Now, you also have to be one of those people that doesn't need it to be a semi-co-op game where everybody's collectively trying to work on the same puzzle or trying to mitigate something bad that's happening. It is just a rumor mill. That's the whole game.
Gaslight your friends the game.
And it is so terribly fun, though. And this is the one game where being a storyteller or the DM is actually really, really interesting because you are weaving the tale as you play it and you get to influence how things go down.
You're dictating the outcome.
No, you're trying to keep things fair if you're a good storyteller and make sure one side of the tale does not get way ahead of the other. So in the end, you have a good, fair story to tell.
So I do have one sort of criticism, unlike Bob, who will just dismiss
All
it out of hand.
criticisms. Oops. all criticisms.
Oops, all criticisms. Where I do feel like, so games like Two Booms in a Room and Werewolf, like regular Werewolf and stuff, there's people that are fixated on getting that knowledge, right? So they can solve the puzzle. Mm-hmm. Blood on the Clocktower goes, we're going to do that until we don't. Because there's so many ways, and it's encouraged for the reasons you said, to weave a even tug of war, throughout the whole thing, where the rules do not always apply, and that can be, for a casual player, impossible for them to suss out. Because I can't tell you how many games where it's like, well, Tim's the mayor unless I was the washerwoman, and then they gave me bad information because they're the poisoner and my ability didn't work, and then this person did that. and it because of that, and it's like, who shot who in the what now? Like, I don't know what you just said, and I just named arbitrary roles, like, so don't come at me with like,
Don't
well, that's
at me, bro.
That's not
technically technically impossible.
Right.
But there's the draw is there's lots of very cool, unique roles, and they do really cool things that make this really fun puzzle. But if you are the drunk and you're just constantly giving wrong information, I mean, it's kind of funny, like one time, but like an hour and a half in, like
Takes too long.
it could be too long.
Longer games can take too long.
And
Higher player count games can take
gonna
too
say.
long.
and people that are obsessed with being able to put together the puzzle, and that's what makes them feel good. That's the feel good part of the game for them is, I puzzled it all out. Again, I will use two brooms in a room, for example. Well, you showed me red, and I saw X, Y, and Z, and I know I'm this. And when you did that, I now know that you need to be in the room with the president for my team to win. You know what I mean? Like, kind of thing. You can get perfect information. And in Blood on the Clocktower, if the storyteller is doing their job, you cannot do that. So it is counterintuitive to that, which may be the appeal, but it only adds to the gaslighting, which is Bob's issue with most of the werewolf games. That and always, and I've been there too, is the old school days of playing Werewolf or Mafia. And if you're any good at it at
First
the
did
beginning
I.
of the game, the rest of the night, Bob's a werewolf.
Yeah.
Tim's a werewolf.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been in games where that just happens.
Game after game. And then it's like, okay, cool. I'll stay here for 10 more minutes while you guys play.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, but Tim, this is the Bob is wrong video. Yours is a different video,
It is.
and it is the best social deduction game you'll ever play if you like those games. If you don't, it's probably not going to win you over the top because there's not concrete information.
Yeah.
Sowing doubt is what makes it interesting, and that's what the drunk and the poisoner are meant for.
If it can be played in 30 minutes, I'd probably play it more often and have some better experiences. But I've played it 3 times. Every single time it was 45 minutes to an hour. One game lasts an hour and a half, and that's just too long to be sitting
So
there just
Bob
lying
needs
to
the
people.
one night ultimate Blood on the Clocktower.
There you go. There you go.
Experience.
There you go.
Keep it to 6 players or less. And when you are the
that-
storyteller, make sure you're very quick in the night
Does
phase.
a 6-player or less like limit the missions or
Yeah.
stories you're allowed to do though? Like you got to have like 8, 10, 20 people sometimes, and that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just say keep it under like 12 or less. When it's under 10, you get the full experience, and you can easily keep the game at 45 minutes.
We've had some fun games with like 8 people, but we were only using that first set of characters.
Yeah.
Which was very cool. If I ever came across a cheap copy of Blood on the Clocktower, I'd totally buy it. The components are amazing.
Components are amazing. I'll give it
And
that.
it does some really cool things. But I do have some issues with it. But kind of like for Bob, those negatives might be somebody else's positives.
Sure.
So, anyways,
So what
well,
I'm hearing is I'm not totally wrong.
no, you're pretty wrong. You're pretty wrong. I mean, like, you're pretty wrong about a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
especially your number 2. Equinox.
Oh, yeah.
You're welcome. But anyways, so these are top 5 games Bob is wrong about. Let us know in the comments which one made you the most angry.
And why am I right?
And when you tell us which one made you the angriest, we'll send you his home address
I'll send you my copy of the game.
and his personal phone number
Yeah.
so you can reach him and
Perfect.
let him know. Awesome, guys. Well, this was fun.
Yeah.
Please stay tuned and watch similar versions of this list with Mike and myself. So for the Board Game Rundown, I've been Tim.
I was right.
He was wrong.
Thanks for watching.